During the next 90 minutes or so, we will discuss Georgia's medical condition in more detail and explore your concerns and what is important to you. I'll explain some choices that you'll face if you have complications. This talk can help both of you learn about planning ahead for healthcare. I encourage you to share your concerns and questions about the care you want and don't want. This isn't an easy conversation for most people, but it's very important. It really helps to have your healthcare agent here. Kathy needs to hear and understand your goals and values. This is the best way to prepare her to make choices for you when you can't tell us yourself. This discussion and your choices will be shared with your provider and we'll put them in your medical record. There's no need to rush, so take your time before answering any of my questions. Do you have any questions before we start?
No.
Okay. And I will use some interview tools. I'm going to go based off of these interview tools just so that we don't get off track. And before we get started, Kathy, I just want to make sure that you understand what being a healthcare agent is.
Okay.
A healthcare agent is a person chosen by a loved one or a family member to make decisions that are end-of-life decisions in the event of a person being unable to speak for themselves or to make their own decisions. In most states, a doctor will determine if a person is unable to make their own decisions. So being a healthcare agent means that you will need to make healthcare decisions for someone who cannot think or speak for themselves. This is a very important role. Ask questions if you're unclear about your responsibilities. The person who has chosen you is expecting you to make these decisions that he or she would make if they were able to. She values and trusts you to do the right thing. You should be able to answer yes to the following questions. Am I willing to take this role and responsibility?
Yes.
Do I know what the person would want for their future medical care? No.
No.
Can I make decisions they would want me to make even if I disagree on the decisions?
Yes.
Okay. And am I able to make difficult medical decisions under stressful situations?
Yes.
Okay. So the one that you answered no to is not knowing, and so that's what we'll do over this next 90 minutes.
Okay.
Is identify what your mom really wants. So Georgia, in your own words, tell me about your COPD. What current symptoms are you having?
Well, I'm having really bad shortness of breath. It's not so bad when I sit, but when I just get up, like to go to the bathroom or something, I really have to rest afterwards. It's getting harder on me. I feel pressure on my chest, and it's getting worse than it used to be.
Okay, so shortness of breath, particularly when you move or walk around. Okay, and Kathy, in your own words, tell me what you know about your mom's COPD, and what symptoms do you think she's having from it?
She's having the shortness of breath. I see that. I see her walking and having a difficult time going from one area to the next. I see her trying to get her breath and having a very deep, her lungs are very full, and so it's hard to see. It's very hard to watch.
So I can understand that must be a scary thing for you to see. So shortness of breath, difficulty walking. Anything else, Georgia, that you?
No, that's the worst thing.
Just the
I'm
short.
tired of being on the oxygen, though.
Okay.
Just having that thing in my nose all the time.
It's uncomfortable for you to have the oxygen in your nose. Okay. And Kathy, anything else?
No, it's hard to watch. It's just very hard to watch. And not know what to do.
Yeah, it can be very scary. So the shortness of breath, the oxygen, not being able to walk, just feeling kind of that heavy chest, and just scary for the family to have to see as well. What do you think is the cause of your COPD?
Well, I smoked a lot,
Okay.
and so I know. So then I have these bad feelings that I did it to myself. So then I feel like I better not complain.
So you feel like it's from smoking,
Mm-hmm.
but then it gives you a little more feelings that it's something that you should shouldn't complain about because
Mhm.
you did it to yourself.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's certainly not the way we want you to feel. It's a
Hard
s-
not to though.
Yeah, it's a situation that we're dealing with right now, so we wanna worry about the symptoms. But again, I can understand that feeling must be a hard one. Kathy, what do you think is causing the COPD?
Oh, I'm sure the smoking had something to do with it, but you know, that was a time when we all smoked. So it isn't like any of us wanna, you know, point fingers and say, you know, that you're a bad person because you did that. But I think it's a combination of smoking and, just the environment today and everything that's going on and, you know, so we didn't know how to take care of ourselves in the olden days.
So smoking,
Just
The
not taking
environment.
care of ourselves, not knowing about that, not knowing about a lot of things that caused us problems, you know, with our health.
okay.
We weren't taught.
So I hear the common being the smoking, is there anything else that you think?
I think that's a
The
major thing.
environment and not being taught. Okay. Now Georgia, what problems do you think you're likely to have in the future? We'll call them complications.
Well, I just had pneumonia, and I hear that I'm gonna get that more and more. I'm worried that I'm gonna suffocate. I'm scared. For when I can't catch my breath, I get really scared.
So you feel like you could possibly get pneumonia again,
Mm-hmm.
and it scares you about the thought of not being able to breathe and
Mhm.
to possibly suffocate.
Like claustrophobia.
Okay. Are there any other complications or problems you think you'd be likely to have?
Well, I think it might affect my heart.
Okay. So heart problems, possible pneumonia again. And Kathy, what do you think about problems that your mom may have in the future?
Well, I've done some studying on it, and so I know, I kinda know what the computer says about it, you know, the internet says about it. But I'm afraid, I get scared when she gets worried, because then I know that she's hurting and there's nothing I can do about it. And that makes me feel, very anxious, because I can't do a thing to help her. And so I don't know what to do. So I'm hoping you can help me.
Okay. So your concern, or you see it, her possibilities of not being able to breathe and
Right.
being a problem. There are resources that we have available, and I'm going to table that conversation for a little bit
Okay.
later. I'd like to jot that down just so that we don't forget about it,
Okay.
because I think it's important. It's a valid feeling. But right now we'll just keep on going on this, and then we'll come back to
Okay.
to that. So the biggest complications I hear you say that you think your mom likely will have are the shortness of breath again.
Yep.
And that sounds to be very anxiety provoking and scary for all of you.
Yes.
I can understand that would be a scary thing. How has your illness changed your life, Georgia?
Well, I used to do a lot of things that I can't do anymore. I used to go out and play golf, and I used to go for walks, and I can't do that stuff anymore. So and I'm tired all the time, so I can't do much.
So golf, going for walks, and you're a lot more tired, so you can't do those things. Is there anything else or any other way that the illness has changed your life?
Well, I think about it all the time. My mind is preoccupied, wondering what's gonna happen.
Okay. So a lot of thoughts surrounding the next steps of this illness. Okay. And Kathy, how do you think your mom's illness has changed your life?
Oh, dramatically. Because she used to, like she said, she was very active. She was a very active person. And now she can't do any of it.
Okay.
We'll go to I'll take her to the grocery store, and she has to sit down like every 10 steps. And she even just walking, from one room to the next in the house has been difficult for her. Plus, I know that she's really scared because she doesn't talk about it, and that's been her MO.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I ask her to talk about it and how does she feel and what's going on, and she won't do it, and so that gets frustrating for me. And
Okay. So, what I'm hearing you say is that a little more limited in her ability to get around.
yes,
You said there are activities she used to do. She used to be very active. So what activities do you think she's not doing anymore?
well, like she said, she's not walking, she's not doing exercises, she's not playing, playing golf, she's not even playing bridge with her friends, she's not going. She used to like to go just shopping at Target, and she can't, or Walgreens or whatever, and she can't do that anymore. So it's very much limited her to being housebound, which I think has been very frustrating for her.
For her. So not being able to get out and do the things that she used to
Exactly.
do, and have to stay home more. Would you agree with that, Georgia?
Mhm.
And are there other ways that you feel that this illness has impacted your life or changed your life than what we discussed?
No, that's how I feel.
Okay. So what do you hope for with your current plan of care?
Well, I would hope to get better, but I don't think I will. So, actually, I haven't thought about it too much because if I think about it, then it's real. So, I just would like to get better, be able to do things that I used to be able to do.
So what things would you like to get back to doing?
I'd like to golf and go play bridge with my friends and walk a little bit. I'd like to be stronger.
So understanding that your illness is progressive and the hope to get better is unlikely. If we can't achieve the getting better, would going golfing or going out to bridge or doing something like that, that would be the maximum hope, is to get back to being able to do something like that,
Get out of the house.
with the understanding that the illness itself is not going to get better. Okay. Is there anything else you hope for?
I hope when the time comes to not suffocate.
That's a big concern of yours, is to not suffocate. And Kathy, what do you think your mom's hope is for her current plan?
What do I think her
hope for the current plan?
Well, everything that she said, but I'm just going to tell you that I hope she can be comfortable, and I also hope that she can not be so anxious about suffocating. I understand that that's a very big fear, but it's like, but being scared about it, it's like, how can, I hope that the healthcare can help us understand that or make her more at peace and give her some peace, because I know that's a very, that's a, it's a piece of her that's very debilitating.
Sure. So I can understand your hopes. A lot of these are surrounding your fears and not
Right.
wanting to see your mother suffer.
Right.
And those are all valid. And some of those fears are good ones that we can bring up to the doctor. So I'd like to write those down as well, so
Okay.
that when you go to your provider next, you can bring up these fears, and see if there's anything else we can do to help alleviate some of this,
Right.
that shortness of breath. But I think that's a good conversation for the physician. So I heard a lot about your hopes, and I understand those. Do you have any hopes that you think your mother would want for her current plan of care?
I think probably the same. Don't you, Mom?
The same, meaning not being short of breath and being able to get back to
Well, that, but I also think just the whole thing about suffocating is that I don't like to see her worrying about that all the time. I mean, that's a huge fear she's got, and it isn't that, I understand that, that it's not gonna get better, I understand that. But the fact of the matter is that she worries about it, and you can see her sitting there worrying about it all the time. And that makes me feel sad.
So you think that she maybe hopes to not have to be in that situation?
Right.
That's what it is. Okay. Georgia?
Mm-mm.
Anything for you, Kathy? Okay. So this question is switched a little, we're gonna gear it a little more towards what quality of life is and living well means. So what does living well mean to you? For an example, if you were having a good day, what would happen on that day? Who would you talk to and what would you do?
On a good day like now with
Yeah.
my COPD,
What's considered living well to you today?
well, considering well to me is I wouldn't have COPD and I'd be able to go do whatever I want, go shopping, feel great.
Okay.
That would be a good day.
Okay. And understanding that you do have COPD, what would be considered a good living well in a day that within the world that you are today?
Feeling good, not having too heavy a chest, being able to play with my grandchildren, and having a bright sunny day.
Okay. So not feeling heavy chest, being able to be with your grandchildren, having a nice day, and just feeling well.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you talk to?
Probably my kids. My daughter comes quite often, kind of talking about fun things that are going on in the family, what the kids have done. That's cute.
Okay. Okay. And then we've touched on this a little bit. Well, I guess let's go back to this one. In what way would you feel you could make this time especially meaningful for you during the living well time?
Oh, you mean living well but knowing I've seen it?
Yes.
I think if I can try to concentrate on the now and be happy with what I have and not think about the future. But that's really hard to do, but that's what I would try to do.
Okay. So living in the now,
Mm-hmm.
being present. Okay. Kathy, what do you think living well means to your mom?
All the stuff that she's just talked about, because she loves her grandkids and she's always wants to be with them, and I think that if she didn't have that, it's a little bit like having diabetes. I mean, I understand COPD is a lot worse than diabetes, but it is a little bit like having a disease but accepting it, and that's what my wish would be, is that it's acceptance would be a big part of it. It's like, okay, this is what I have and I gotta live. She's right, living the day today for what today's got to offer me, and accepting that.
Okay, so you would like to see your mom accept the illness. And you think living well, what I heard you say was living well would be seeing her grandchildren and feeling
seeing her
good.
friends and having doing more with her friends, having them come over, calling them, doing that kind of stuff, you know.
That would be living well, is being able to be around, surrounding people that she cares about.
Yep.
Okay. Georgia, is there anything else that we've missed on that about living well?
No.
How about you, Kathy? So Georgia, we've talked a little bit about your fears, but I want to explore that just a little more. What worries you the most about your illness? What fears do you have?
Well, I get really short of breath, and it's panics. I get a little panicky because the only way I can explain it is claustrophobia. I feel like I can't breathe, and I don't know what to do. So then when I can't breathe, I panic, and then I seem to work harder at it.
Okay, so it's kind of an effort.
And then I get scared that it's going to get worse, and so what's going to happen? I'm not going to be able to breathe.
Must be a very scary feeling for you. So the shortness of breath, claustrophobia, kind of suffocating feeling, that's your biggest fear. Is there anything else that worries you about your illness?
Well, I'm having a hard time walking now. What's going to happen when it gets bad? And how long am I going to be like this?
So let's look at that a little more, explore that a little more. What do you mean, how long will you be like this?
How long do I have to live? I don't know how long I have to live, and I don't know what my life is going to be like. because am I going to be for next year gasping for air? And I'm worried that's going to happen.
So again, it's surrounding that breathing and shortness of breath and being afraid that you're gonna have to live in this kind of suffering state. That must be a very scary feeling. Kathy, what fears do you think your mom worries about?
The same, all that, I know that because we've had many talks about it.
Okay, shortness of breath and the claustrophobia feeling. Who or what helps you when you face challenges, serious challenges?
Well, I pray.
Okay.
I try to leave it in God's hands.
You meditate?
Meditate. I try to get it out of my head, think about other things.
Does that help you?
Sometimes. I try to make myself relax.
Okay. So prayer, I heard you say prayer, and meditation, I heard you say, Kathy. Anything else that helps you through challenges or serious times?
I don't think so. I think that's the best.
Okay. Kathy, what do you think helps your mom face serious challenges in life?
Well, she's a very spiritual person, so I know that that's important to her. And she uses that a lot. And she also, we've learned meditation, so I try to help her do that, or we do it together. Sometimes we'll do some yoga, meditation stuff. And I know that she tries very, very much to live in the now and to try and just put her head back into that and say, wait, I gotta live today.
Okay.
So that one day at a time thing she's very good at.
So prayer, meditation, yoga, living in the present, all very important things. Anything else that I've missed on what you
Well, and I don't know if this fits in with this, but one of my fears, one of my things that I think about a lot that I don't like is putting my family through this. I feel really bad that my family has to suffer for what I did. And I have guilt feelings and feel really bad about it.
Mom, I told you not to worry about that.
So just feeling like you might be burdening your family.
Yes.
So that might be something that we need to continue to keep an open conversation, and it might be helpful for you to discuss that with your children and your husband, and really kind of be open about that and get some feelings out there on the table. And there's other services we have available. We have chaplains we can speak with, and different services available to help you get through that. And again, that's another one of those ones that we'll write down for later on. I'm gonna table that for later on to discuss. So, you discussed being hospitalized recently for your pneumonia. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, it was It was very scary. I couldn't breathe. I thought it was the end, and I didn't know if I'd ever come home.
Scary, couldn't breathe, thought it was the end. What did you learn from that experience?
I don't know. I think I learned, maybe that's a good question. I learned that it isn't always the end, I guess.
Okay. Did you learn anything else?
I learned that I can survive when I don't think I can.
Okay.
I learned that my family drops everything that comes when I'm sick to come and support me, which is a really good feeling.
Okay. So your family came to your side when you needed it.
Yeah.
And that you can make it through hospitalization, and you didn't think maybe you could.
Right.
Kathy, what do you think your mom learned from her hospital experience?
Well, like she said, that the family was supportive and that there's a lot of love. And that I think she finally realized that, you know, she is very much loved by all of us. And our family doesn't express it all the time, but we finally are learning that it's okay. That's just something we don't do. And I also think she learned that it was a place where she could be safe and that she could feel secure as far as, you know, as far as her COPD was concerned, that there were people there that were going to take care of her and could help her, whereas I can't always do that, Dad can't always do that. We don't know all that stuff. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things, was feeling safe. And
That's a good point, feeling trusting
trusting.
Okay.
that somebody else was taking care of me.
Okay. So feeling safe, again, going back to that family that you all pulled together,
Yeah.
and that she's in a place that they can help her with her
Mhm.
COPD. Good. Is there anything else? Anything for you?
No.
Okay. Now, Georgia, did you ever know or care for anyone, like a family member or a friend who was very ill or dying?
Well, my mother,
Okay.
years ago when my mom got sick, I took care of her.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Well, she had a really bad heart, and so I had to kind of take care of her, and it was scary, because I didn't know if she'd survive, and not knowing if she'd make it through the night, so it was scary. So maybe that's why I feel bad for my kids, because I know how scared I was, and think they must be that scared.
Okay. What did you learn about yourself during that experience?
That I'm strong, and I can do things.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So, do you think it changed your outlook on how you view things in life? And how you view
I think I became more realistic
Okay.
and probably more understanding of what happens when someone's sick.
And what did you think you would want if you were in your mother's place?
I wanted my mom just to fall asleep and not wake up, not have to suffer.
Okay. So if you were in her position, is that what you would have wanted to have happen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Kathy, were you involved at all in this experience, or do you remember this experience at all?
Oh, just a little bit, but I do know that Mom was very strong with my grandma. I don't really remember too much. I remember she talked about getting the pills all the time, you know, and for her and all that kind of stuff. But that's all I was pretty young.
Okay. So I hear a common word of strong during this time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty important thing to have on your side. So, what have you discussed with your family about what care you want if your illness gets worse?
I haven't said too much to him because I try not to bring it up, but I've thought about it, but I haven't talked about it.
Okay.
Because if I talk about it, then it's real.
Okay. So maybe just dealing a little of it on your own, and I think I heard Kathy say that earlier, that you kind of internalize some of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Kathy, you maybe don't know exactly how she feels about how she wants to be cared for.
And I don't.
Well, the good news is we're going through it right now, so hopefully we can get some of that out there so you can speak a little more about it.
Okay.
Okay. So we're switching gears onto a next step. So I'd just like to talk about it a little bit. With your illness, there's no way to tell when you'll have a complication. A sudden crisis could leave you unable to make your own healthcare decisions. Family members or loved ones would have to decide for you. They may not know how you feel about having treatment when there is no doubt you will fully recover. This can cause a lot of stress. If no one knows your wishes, doctors will be treating you the best they can. They may do things that you would not choose if you could talk on your own. Okay. So that's kind of advanced care planning and why we're going to go through the advanced care planning. Now the next thing we're going to do here is, there's a sheet I'd like to go through and discuss your illness and really get an understanding of what kind of treatments you would like if you were unable to speak for yourself. So I'm going to describe some things that could happen to you if your medical condition gets worse. Discussing your thoughts about each situation will help you make choices that reflect your goals and values. Your choices will be put into the medical record. You'll be there to guide your healthcare agent and doctors. They'll be there to guide your healthcare agent and your doctors if you're unable to speak for yourself. You can change your choices at any time in the future, and I'll explain a little how to do that a little later. So this is a statement of treatment preferences. I'm going to go through this slowly. It gets a little complicated, but I want to make sure you understand everything that we're going through. So I'm going to read this as is. If I have a serious complication for my lung disease, such as a heart failure or pneumonia, so that I am facing a prolonged hospital stay requiring ongoing medical interventions, and my chance of living through this complication is low, 5 out of 100 patients will live, so roughly 5%. Tell me your own words what that situation means or what that sounds like, what I just read to you.
Well, my first inclination is I don't want to die. And so my first inclination is do everything you can.
Okay.
But I'm speaking now where it's hard to get to the point where I put my head in the spot where I can't think very well. If I probably was living like this for a long time, I would probably not want to go on anymore.
Okay. So what exactly do you think is happening to you in this situation?
In this situation, I think probably I'm dying.
Okay. So you're in the hospital, you have a complication from your illness, and you think that you're maybe dying. Okay. So Kathy, what do you think in your own words about this situation? What does this situation sound like to you?
Yeah, it sounds like she's dying.
Okay. Okay. So I'll read it again.
Okay.
If I have a serious complication from my lung disease, such as heart failure or pneumonia, so that I am facing a prolonged hospital stay, I'm requiring ongoing medical interventions, and my chance of living through this complication is low. For an example, only 5 out of 100 will live. I choose the following. Now, whatever choice is made here, know that comfort is utmost importance, and you want to be kept comfortable as long as possible, as comfortable as possible. Okay. So our first option for that first scenario is to continue all treatments so that I can live as long as possible. Staying alive is most important to me no matter what. The second option is to stop all efforts to keep me alive. My definition of living well is more important than length of time.
Can I just say I'd like to try to live and at least give a chance instead of just going, oh, well, forget it. If I could just try for a little while and it doesn't work, then I would give it up.
Okay.
But I'm a fighter, and so I'd like to try fighting through it.
Okay.
But the one thing I don't want prolonged life is a ventilator.
Okay, and we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll definitely get to that. And in this particular situation, we don't know how long. We don't really, they're not telling us very much. It's just that it's a complication and your survival chance is low. So
Okay.
I'm hearing you say you'd like to try to continue on.
I'd like to try.
Okay. And so to continue all treatments so that you can live as long as possible.
Yep.
Okay, and Kathy, can you honor those wishes?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the second scenario is a little different. If I have a serious complication from my lung disease, such as heart failure or pneumonia, and I have a good chance of living through this complication, but it is expected that I will never be able to either walk or talk or both again, and I would require 24-hour nursing care. What does this scenario mean to you in your own words, or tell me in your own words what I just said to you?
that to me would be a vegetable, and is my mind working at that time?
In this scenario, they just say that you would not be able to walk or talk or both. It doesn't say anything about your mind. It just talks about, so it's uncertain. It just says that you're not able to walk, talk, or both, and would require 24-hour nursing care.
I wouldn't want to put that on my family,
Okay.
but I would feel like I wouldn't want to be killed.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be maybe not be fed or something. That would be okay, but I don't want to. Again, I'd like to fight. If my mind wasn't working, that would be one thing. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what I want.
Okay. So in this one, we'll read it again, and then you can tell me back what you think is happening to you.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't even have to make a decision of what treatment you want.
Okay.
But rather, let's just explore what's happening to you in this situation. I have a serious complication from my lung disease, such as heart failure or pneumonia, and I have a good chance of living through this complication. But it's expected that I will never be able to either walk or talk or both again, and I would require 24-hour nursing care.
Well, when I think about it with my disease and put that on top of the walking and talking, probably that would be a horrible life, probably.
Okay.
That wouldn't be nice.
Okay.
I think that would be, I think I would suffer a lot. Emotionally, mentally, physically.
Okay. So, in this situation, you feel like you'd be suffering.
Mm-hmm. And my family would be suffering.
Okay. So, now we'll go down to the treatments, and I would choose the following. Whatever my choice is, I want to be kept as comfortable as possible. One is to continue all treatments so I can live as long as possible. Staying alive is most important to me no matter what. Or I would stop all efforts to keep me alive. My definition of living well is more important than length of life.
Well, that's true. My idea, living well would be better.
Okay, so stop all efforts to keep me alive.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathy, can you honor her wishes?
I can, yes.
Okay. Alright. So in scenario 3, if I have a serious complication from my lung disease, such as heart failure or pneumonia, and have a good chance of living through this complication, but it is expected I would never know who I was or who I was with, and I would require 24-hour nursing care.
Definitely, I wouldn't want to be kept alive.
Okay, so what does that mean, and what is that situation?
That means just to allow me to go.
Okay. So in this scenario, what do you, in your own words, what do you think is happening to you?
Definitely dying.
Okay. So, I would choose the following, whatever my choice. I want to be kept as comfortable as possible. To continue all treatments so that I can live as long as possible. Staying alive is most important to me no matter what. Or to stop all efforts to keep me alive.
Stop all efforts.
Okay. Alright. Oh, yep, Kathy, are you willing to honor her
Yes,
wishes?
I am.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the next situation, I'd like to talk with you about whether you know or whether you want CPR attempted if your heart or breathing were to stop. This decision is made often without a chance to learn about the facts or think about the goals and values. My hope is that you can make an informed decision. First, I'd like to ask you a few questions. What is your understanding of CPR?
CPR is pushing on your heart to get it started again, and it can be very painful. You can break ribs and things like that.
Okay. And Kathy, what's your understanding of CPR?
Yeah, same.
Okay. Has your physician told you at all about CPR?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you know about the success of CPR?
It's not good.
Okay.
It's not good. Most people die even after CPR.
Okay. Would you be willing to hear a little more about CPR just to get some more
Sure.
information? Okay. So, CPR is done for you by someone else, as you said. It could be breathing into your mouth or doing the chest compressions, like you said, pushing on your chest. Electric shock or drugs could be tried to start your heart again. And a tube to help you breathe. So that same tube down your throat that you had the last hospitalization that you were talking about. And as you said, does CPR work? It doesn't work as much as people think. We see it on TV a lot. It works best if you are healthy with no illness. It can be given within, and it works best if it can be given within a few minutes of your heart and your lungs stopping. It does not work well if you've had a chronic health problem. You have an illness that can no longer be treated. You are older and weak. If you are in the hospital and get CPR, you have a 22% chance of it working and leaving. And if you're older, weak, and living in a nursing home, CPR works less than 3% of the time.
Wow.
If CPR does help your heart and lungs to work, it usually has side effects to go with it. Your lungs are weakened and you will have to be on a breathing machine for some time. You will need to be cared for in an ICU. You may have brain damage. You may have damaged ribs. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. And
Good to know.
if you want to try CPR, you should talk about what results you would expect, and what the goals would be.
I don't want it.
Okay.
Because if I have my lung disease, it sounds like I wouldn't do very well anyway.
Okay. So you sound like you've thought about this before.
Mm-hmm.
So situation 4 does say, if I have a sudden event that causes my heart and breathing to stop, I choose the following. Now there's actually 3 options here. There is the, I do not want CPR attempted, but would rather have natural death permit natural death. And then I want CPR attempted. Those are the 2 kind of black and white. And then there's the one that says, I want CPR attempted unless my physician determines any of the following. I have an incurable illness or I'm dying, or injury and I'm dying. Or I have no reasonable chance of survival if my heart stops. Or I have little chance of long-term survival if my heart stops and the process of resuscitation would cause significant suffering. So the 3 choices here are to not attempt CPR at all, to attempt CPR no matter what, or to attempt CPR if, one of the 3 following.
I would say no, because I have a bad disease.
Okay.
So
Okay. So I do not want CPR
I
attempted.
do not want it, no.
Okay. And Kathy, can you honor her wishes?
I can.
Okay. And the next one we talk about breathing and airway management, and unfortunately already know firsthand what that is, but what's your understanding of the choices to control breathing? What has your physician told you? So what are the things that we can do to help you with your breathing?
Well, I take some medicine now, inhaling, and I take 3 different inhalants, and that helps, but it doesn't make it perfect.
Okay.
So, and oxygen.
And oxygen, okay. And if you're unable to breathe on your own, do you know what they would do for you?
Put a ventilator on.
Okay. And the tube down the throat,
Mm-hmm.
or the machine over your face? Have you had the BiPAP machine before?
Once I had it, and I don't ever want it again.
Okay. And you've had intubation 1 time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've had BiPAP 1 time and an intubation 1
Mhm.
time. Okay. And Kathy, were you present for those 2 times?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know side effects of intubation?
No, I don't.
Okay. So, when you do have intubation, particularly someone who's had a lung disease, there are risks that go with it. It's much tougher to get a person off of the ventilator. You have chances of possibly you'll probably need a trach. the more times you've been intubated, it's harder to get off of that intubation when your lungs are so weakened. So things that are nice for you to know before making these decisions. I know that you've said pretty passionately how your feelings are, but we'll still just explore those. If I have an episode where I'm unable to breathe on my own, I would choose the following. Attempt any appropriate non-invasive method to assist my breathing. So that would be the oxygen, BiPAP, something like that. And use mechanical ventilation if the others fail. Or do not use mechanical ventilation. So in this first scenario, it's saying use appropriate non-invasive.
What's invasive?
So the invasive would be putting the tube down your throat. Non-invasive would be more like the BiPAP or the oxygen. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So your options in this first one are you can attempt any appropriate non-invasive, so oxygen or more a BiPAP method to assist my breathing, and use mechanical ventilation if other methods fail, or do not use mechanical ventilation if others.
Don't use, I don't want.
Okay, so that's situation one, that you can try non-invasive but do not do a trach.
Okay.
So you can use BiPAP, but not trach, intubation. The second one is do not assist my breathing by non-invasive or mechanical. So in this second one, it's saying I do not want a BiPAP, I do not want intubation.
Can I still have oxygen?
You can still have oxygen.
That's what
And
I choose.
oxygen is always going to be given for comfort.
That's the one I
Okay,
choose.
so do not attempt to assist my breathing by non-invasive methods or mechanical ventilation. Okay. Kathy, can you honor those wishes?
I can.
Okay. I know this is a lot to take in all at once. I want to support you any way I can. There are tough decisions to make and to talk about. Think of these decisions as a gift to your loved ones and to those close to you. I know that you said you were worried about burdening them with your illness, but this is a great gift to give them, to allow them to know what your wishes are. And now Kathy has these. She's been here present to hear them, and knowing this will give them great comfort. So they won't have to wonder if they made the wrong decision. Now we'll have this all, in your computer or in your system. The doctor will have it, so there won't be question about what your wishes are. So now we had a couple things that we wrote down, and I'd like to give those to have you give those to the physician on the next time that you go see him, and just discuss those. A lot of them based around this fear of suffocating.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have any other questions about being able to provide care, if you're unable to care for yourself and not wanting to be a burden for your husband or your children, these are all things that we can discuss further. Do you guys have any questions at all for me?
No, I just love this. I'm so happy you're doing it. It just takes a big burden off of us, Mom. Takes a big burden off of us.
Yeah, it is a gift.
It takes it off of me too.
Yeah.
So I have a plan, and so I feel like I have some control over my life yet.
Good. That's good.
So
Okay, well, thank you guys very much.
thank you for your understanding.
Thank you.
Yeah.